Good morning, everyone. Appreciate you joining us here. This is Bruce Kirsch with Real Estate Financial Modeling. We have a great information session for you today on REFI, specifically REFAI Cohort. And I'll start just by introducing myself and a fellow REFI graduate, Matt Shell, who is up very early, and we appreciate him being up very early on the West Coast. Then we'll talk about, well, what's REFI just generally and who enrolls in REFI, and talk about the cohort format, which is new in particular. Walk through the curriculum pretty rapidly because we have a very high level of detail of that on the website. We want to make sure you understand the component parts and how it all works together. And then at the end, just wrap up with details on how you can enroll. If you're already in REFI as a self-paced student, how you can upgrade and payment details. We are having this 50% off drawing, which we'll do for those who are on the line at the time at the end. And we're scheduled to go until 12:15. We're going to do our best to stick to that. As far as Q&A goes, please do feel free to just send questions through on the chat and do that in real time, and we'll reserve some time at the end for questions. So we do have, before I introduce myself and Peter, we do have Matt Shell, who is an acquisitions associate at Pacific Industrial in Long Beach, California with us. And Matt went through our REFI self-paced program. And Matt, do you mind just giving us a little background on your career?
Yeah, happy to. Thanks for having me, Bruce. I think this is a very exciting program because I went through REFI myself and didn't have the opportunity to do it in a cohort, so I'm a little jealous, but glad that you guys all have this opportunity in front of you now. And REFI program benefited me a lot throughout my career. So I'm currently an acquisitions associate at Pacific Industrial. And prior to my role here at Pacific Industrial, I worked at Eastdil Secured as an analyst in the Santa Monica office for 2 years, where I worked across asset types and co-led the national internship program for Secured. And I kind of grew up around real estate through my dad, who has a boutique brokerage firm in Scottsdale, Arizona. But I had some experience working for him, but I kind of used REFI to elevate my modeling and understanding of real estate, where I could land that first job out of school at Eastdil Secured. And it kind of gave me a leg up in my career. So happy to talk more about that.
Terrific. Thanks very much, Matt. And for those who just joined or don't know, I'm Bruce Kirsch, the founder of Real Estate Financial Modeling. Some people call it REFM, other people call it REFM, whatever you want to call it. The initials are for that mouthful, Real Estate Financial Modeling, just to make our lives a little bit easier. And incidentally, the REFI acronym is also to make our lives a little bit easier. That stands for the Real Estate Finance and Investment Certification. I've been in real estate for more than 2 decades, and it's been fascinating. I have worked in a variety of roles and functions, and I've really dedicated the last 15 years of my career to teaching and training and advising clients on how to put the discipline of financial modeling front and center in their business decision-making matrix and how that can benefit them. I am a former student of Dr. Peter Linneman. Peter's my collaborator, both in the REFI certification program and in the textbook, which many people have probably heard of and is nicknamed the Blue Bible of Real Estate. And that nickname actually came from Peter's original batch of students who were able to use the book for the first time in 2003. So the book's been around also for 2 decades and has met with a tremendously warm welcome, both at the university level. Over time, it's been used by more than 125 colleges and universities, including state schools and private schools and specialty business schools and everything in between. And it's also been adopted by some of the largest real estate platforms out there, such as Blackstone and CBRE, Tishman Speyer. And what differentiates this book, and I would say by extension the REFI program, is the focus on practicality. the focus on applying the realities of the operations of the commercial real estate business and markets, capital markets and real estate markets to your day to day. A lot of textbooks that you might have come across or may be using currently seem to veer away or not even flirt with the realm of the practical. And that, I know, for learners can sometimes be a little bit frustrating. And so Peter likes to say he wrote the book in reaction to his frustration for the overly theoretical options that he had when he was teaching real estate finance. Now, Peter, if you don't know, was the founding chairperson of the Wharton School's real estate department. He joined the Wharton faculty after getting his PhD in economics at University of Chicago. He was under the tutelage of Nobel Prize winning economists and joined fresh out of PhD in 1979 to Wharton, and then stayed there for 34 years. And one of his exciting challenges during that time at Penn was to actually erect this real estate department. And I think it's fair to say he and his colleagues and many others built it into a powerhouse. And it's very well renowned and well regarded. And so I did have Peter as professor for real estate finance and investments, and I used this very book, but I didn't really reconnect with Peter until several years later. I was working in Washington, D.C. in the commercial real estate business, and I had founded my company, REFM, and I was given an opportunity to serve on the adjunct faculty at Georgetown University in their master's in real estate program. And that was very exciting for me. And I sent an email to Peter. I said, Peter, I'm teaching real estate finance. I need a book. And he said, well, you're in luck. I'm still publishing the book. And so that was sort of how we reconnected about 20 or so years ago. And over time, I've been very fortunate to continue to work and collaborate with Peter. I edited the book for a few years, and then more recently have become a co-author of the textbook. And so with all of this deep involvement with the teaching material, I eventually said to Peter, I said, Peter, first of all credit for the brilliance of the book goes to him. Obviously, I came sort of later, and I'm mostly just pouring coffee on the side as far as my involvement with the book. But I said to Peter, it's so strong. The book is so strong. And it's served as the backbone of your courses at Wharton. Why don't we bring this to the world, right? Why don't we make this a course that's available to the public across the country and around the world? And he loved the idea. And I said, let's go for it. And so that was about, 7 years ago. The course launched in 2019, REFAI, and I integrated into REFAI some of the certifications that I had been running through REFM, namely the Excel for Real Estate certifications, which are more bite-sized certifications dealing specifically with technical Excel skills as they relate to commercial real estate projection analysis. And those are all important things, but they're really, I would say, only about 15% of the overall curriculum. So I wove those in to the curriculum of the textbook itself and other enhancements as well. And I think what we have as a result is a very strong, very comprehensive program, and it's received tremendous response over time. And so we're obviously very pleased with that. And so it's very comprehensive. It's highly practical in nature, but I will say it's rigorous and it's challenging. Okay, this is not a let's click on the checkbox and, whoa, there's our PDF certificate. That's not what this is. And it was never intended to be that. Peter and I agreed when we went forward with this joint venture that we would retain the rigor and the challenge of the course as it existed when he was teaching at Wharton, when he was on the faculty. And so it is a true, legitimate equivalent of a semester-length course. Now, we've done something very interesting and exciting with the cohort, and we're going to talk in more detail about that. But what we've essentially done is we've innovated a 3-stage program that has these component parts that you work through in serial manner that I think are going to allow people to not only learn more in this format, but also retain more knowledge for longer periods of time. And retention is a very important part of learning. Now, listen, we know that you have other options in the market. And one of the things that I've always found a little surprising is when I look at the other options that are out there is there's never, at least to my finding, an explicit statement of these are the goals of the program for you, the learner. And so I like to be very transparent about that. Okay, we've actually thought about this. What are our goals for you, right? As the learner, and they're threefold. One is we've got to get you a solid theoretical and technical grounding in real estate, finance, investment analysis, and Excel. The second is we treat this as a business course. It is a business course. It happens to be related to real estate, which involves bricks and mortar and leases and so on. But we really are going for is how do we make you a better business person? How do we make you a better thinker about the business of real estate and allow you to take that judgment and that know-how and be able to apply it over the course of a career across different property types, asset classes, and transaction types. And so really the overarching goal is we want to set you up for success, both in the workplace, if you're working for somebody else, and then also if you choose to go out on your own, or if you're currently on your own real estate investing endeavors. And I think the interesting thing about what we're doing with the cohort option is that we can give more structure and perhaps more cohesiveness to the learning experience than we have done to date. Okay. And so we like to think about REFAI in terms of it's empowerment. This is a journey of empowerment for you. And it involves a handful of elements, right? You're going to master a lot of concepts. You're going to learn a lot of skills. You're going to be essentially positioning yourself for your next move, right? What is your next career move? That is what we've been doing. That's what I've been doing for 15 years, right? Supporting my learners, my students, my customers' next career moves, right? And part of that is growing your network. And that's another interesting and exciting element of the cohort format is it's an interactive group synchronized process during the 8-week cohort period. And during that time, you're going to interact with others who are like-minded individuals, perhaps working in the same geographic market or the same asset class, and perhaps not. But things like that allow you to build a resource base. And Matt, I'll just pause for a second here. And you happen to be very fortunate, I think it's fair to say, in that you graduated from a business school that has a tremendously famous and strong alumni network, especially in commercial real estate. But yet you found the interest to pursue REFAI on your own. Can you tell us why, given where you were coming from, University of Southern California, and working in Southern California, why did you see additional value in REFAI as far as networking goes?
Yeah, I think I forgot to mention. So I graduated from the Marshall School of Business at USC, and I think networking in real estate is maybe the number one skill you can have long term for your career. So any way that you can be exposed to more people, especially in like a small group that this cohort would offer, would be great. And I think especially because it's online, you'll be able to have this network across the country and be able to utilize that. So I think anytime you have an opportunity to be with other people in like a small setting working on something, almost like simulating what like your first job would be if you're not working yet, or maybe just like a group that's determined to kind of do one thing together, you're going to get close with that group and be able to those relationships throughout your career.
Yeah, thank you. That's well said. And so that coupled with the ability to start to build your business judgment by using these proven analytical frameworks, applying them to real world practical problems, makes this a very rich educational offering. Now, I would say of equal importance is the business is changing every day, just like every other business. And so you need to stay informed. And one of the core beliefs of REFI is that the education doesn't stop, really, ever. And what we have done to that end is we have produced and continue to produce a series of audio messages from Peter Linneman, and we call them Linsights. I actually sent one out yesterday to the group, which was a fascinating one about the difference between this downturn and previous downturns and how you need to bear certain things in mind about that. But you need to stay informed and you need to keep thinking about the business. It's a dynamic business. It's a complex business. And that's one of the lifelong learning options that we give, in addition to just the lifelong access to the course platform, and then the lifetime cohort connections. So it's a very rich offering. So Matt, when you first started REFI, you were sort of, I think, in a transition phase between your bachelor's degree and that first job, and that fits with some of our learners. They're undergraduates or graduates or recent graduate students. A lot of others are working full-time in early or mid-career positions. Some are interested more or involved rather in CRE more of part-time. And then we have career switchers. Now, this doesn't cover everyone, right? This is a predominant set of folks who have pursued REFI. And then there's been thousands of people pursuing REFI over the years. And just incidentally, I didn't mention it, but Peter and I have never actually sat down and done this math. But I think between the two of us, with 60 plus years of teaching and training and investing experience, we've been very fortunate to probably have taught, I don't know, north of 50,000 individuals around the world. And so this REFI is another way for us to continue to leverage all of that combined knowledge. And so we're about to get into how is REFI Cohort different from REFI itself, but I want to just talk for a moment about how REFI just generally is different from your other options out there in the marketplace. So for the first, you're actually earning 4 certifications, not just one. So I mentioned earlier how I brought the Excel for Real Estate certifications into the curriculum for REFI. That's not something that you had when you were taking the class at Penn or elsewhere using Peter's book. And so those all carry their individual certifications, and they've been around for a long time and have really become somewhat of an industry standard for, this is how I can prove to potential employers or current employers that, I have a certain baseline level of Excel skill and expertise and confidence and speed and execution ability. And the interesting thing about that is you can actually have that first Excel for Real Estate certification probably within a couple of days of enrolling in the course. So that's very, very different from what you would get with other courses. Okay, the second item is you're going to consume the entire textbook. There are other courses out there that use the book and leverage the book, but they don't consume the entirety of it. And I can tell you, every page in this book is important. Okay, I've been through it many, many times backwards and forwards. It's not an 800-page book, which I'm glad for, but it's a 400 to 500-page book. And it really is chock full of no fluff and all highly practical elements. And that's something that we make sure that we don't omit anything, right? We know the value of this body of work, and we make sure that everyone gets the exposure to the comprehensive analysis and market discussion and so on that's contained in the book, right? And on that note, I cannot think of another course that addresses the idea and discusses risk in a more thorough manner than we do. One time when I was working in the manuscript of the book, just for fun, I said, well, I wonder how many times the word risk appears in the book. And it's about 500. So, if you were to spread it evenly, the word risk basically appears on every page of the book. And that, I think, gives a very good sense of Peter's reverence for risk, his understanding of risk, and his desire for you as a business person working in commercial real estate to be able to understand risk, assess risks, understand how you might be able to mitigate risks, and so on. Okay, and so that's the third item. The fourth, I already mentioned, you're going to have access to the Linsights, which is just great to keep your mind thinking about real estate and what's happening now. In addition, you have access to some of the professional tools and data that my company, REFM, has been producing and furnishing to the industry for more than a decade. So these are things that are just not available elsewhere. We have one fun thing, which is a course glossary that you can use on Amazon Alexa. So if you like to do that type of thing, it's an additional convenience. And then, as I said before, we give lifetime platform access. I and Peter, we don't believe in the idea of revoking access. There are some options out there where you'll be able to access the course, but you then get the rug pulled out from under you. And it's, to me and to Peter, it's preposterous. It's just so ridiculous. So I'm not going to come at any point and take the book back from you. So why would I cut you off from the online component? It just, to us, seems really bizarre. And now with the cohort offering, what we've brought into play here is this innovation of the three-stage course design. So let's talk about that now. So there's an understanding of what is this design. Okay. And so first and foremost, it's the same curriculum. Okay. Just as Peter and I promised one another that we were going to retain the rigor and the comprehensive nature of his course when bringing it online into self-paced, we do the same here. There's no change in curriculum. But what we have is a curation of investment-focused content, sort of the A to Z of, if I were to be walking down the street and I see a parking lot and I say, I think that would be a great site for an apartment building. How do I think about that? How do I finance it? How do I do a profit splitting arrangement with other equity players? All of that microcosm of the individual transaction is nicely brought together in the synchronized 8-week cohort period. Prior to that, you have, for those who need it or want to refresh, a pre-cohort period where you have the prerequisites for finance, IRR, amortization, NPV, time value of money laid out for you so that you can make sure that you have the right footing to thrive as you dive into the more complex material in the course. Now, another thing, I don't know if this is 100% unique, but another thing that we offer is I'm going to be holding office hours, and it's not going to be limited to once the cohort period starts. I am making myself available literally year-round online for office hours, and we actually have Zoom integrated into our learning management system. It makes it very easy. All you have to do is just sign into the system, and you can visit the office hours. And so we really do want you to learn successfully. And that's office hours is something that is running throughout the 3 stages of this course, the pre-stage, the cohort, and then the post. Okay, and so the cohort is your 8-week block. It's going to start September 9th and go to November 1st. And what we do during the cohort is we are pacing the learning. Right? We know that you are ambitious. We know that you want to upgrade your resume. You want to upgrade your LinkedIn. You want to get the knowledge and the skills that you need to thrive and to make your next career move. And so it's a rigorous 8-week clip, but we recognize that you can't fit effectively a semester-long course into 8 weeks. It just can't be done, okay? And some others whether they're trying to do that or they're saying it's okay to omit, that's their philosophy. Our philosophy is, first of all, you can't do it. You can't chop something in half and then say it's still the full thing. And then secondly, it sets this expectation for we are going to continue to learn. And with the cohort format, we're going to continue to forge relationships and network and develop those relationships. So the experience really is one of very efficient learning, and it's interactive in nature. The actual time engaged with the material is up to you, right? So yes, the office hours themselves are live, but the engagement with the lectures and the video and the audio and the exercises, that's on your schedule. We recognize a lot of you have very high pressure and demanding jobs, and it's also high pressure and demanding to be a student, and it's certainly high pressure and demanding to be both a professional who's also a student at the same time. So the engagement is up to you, and that flexibility, I think, is very attractive to a lot of individuals. But we have the structured cadence, right, during the 8 weeks. The learning support is there. It's a group forum, group discussion. I monitor all of the boards. I'm the one moderating, and I'm there online live for the office hours throughout. So that's effectively what the experience is. And it's also, as I mentioned earlier, the ability to get your first certification, the Excel for Real Estate certification, effectively within a couple of days. That's unique because you can't get that with a lot of other courses. And so you're achieving on a constant basis, and that continues throughout this post-cohort period. Okay, and so this is just a bird's eye view of how the curriculum breaks down. And as I said, this is covered in a lot of detail in the brochure, and we have the link to the brochure in the chat, and it's also on the website as well. Happy to always answer questions about it, but this is sort of how it breaks down. All of these badges represent some content blocks, essentially, and they're not limited to the exact name of the badge. And some of them you have some overlap, so you'll do some portion of that topic during the 8 weeks, and then you'll close it out during the post period. You might notice the debt badge you'll see in both of those places. But by the end of week 8, as you can see, you're going to have all 3 of the Excel for Real Estate certifications, which is a very strong resume booster. And so effectively, out of the 4, you're 75% done, right? 3 of the 4 certifications are done. And then we're along with you for your closing out of the course during the post-cohort period to get the overarching certification. So I think I'll talk now about enrollment. And again, if you have questions, please feel free to send them through while I'm pulling up this slide. Matt, just tell me if you happen to remember, how long do you think it took you to complete the course?
I might have to sign up for this cohort just to get access to those office hours. I think it took me probably about 6 months while I was also in school at USC. But I would have liked to have done it, like, I think in a shorter chunk of time, but yeah.
Yeah. And you know what? That's not unusual. The I would say typical, no, there's no typical, but if we have to do a broad brushstroke, make a generalization, I would say typically it'll take around 4 months for someone who's working full time. Again, this is a real course, and 4 months is basically the length of a semester, give or take, right? And so 6 months is certainly well within the range of common execution time for completing the course. Not everyone works super well on a self-paced basis. Not everyone thrives as much as they could in an isolated, relatively isolated format. Some people do. Some people, that's how they prefer to learn. And nonetheless, the cohort gives an option to have the structured pacing and the support and the office hours, and likely will allow the average learner to finish more quickly, more efficiently than they would if they were perhaps just doing it on their own. And so the pricing is, as you see here, it's $3,299. It's a one-time fee for lifetime course access. There's special pricing if you happen to be working for a nonprofit or if you're a student. There are payment plans available during the checkout process. There is right now, and for the next 5 days through the 15th, a registration discount, an exclusive discount for the folks here on the webinar. It's a 20% discount, and that's if you enroll by July 15th. And depending on your pricing, if you're just doing the standard pricing, if that's what you qualify for, you're saving up to over $650. So this is a substantial discount that's being offered. Alternatively, if you have a friend or a peer or a colleague who you think would be interested in also benefiting from REFAI Cohort, you can loop them in and come together, reach out to us at save@getrefm.com and say, we'd like to do this pricing of 25% off, because that's something that we have always offered and we continue to offer with the cohort. So that is also something which some of you might find interesting. And then last, if you're currently in REFAI in the self-paced program, or if you are currently in the Excel for Real Estate boot camps, or you have done either of those in the past, the boot camps or REFAI, and you want to upgrade to the cohort from that offering, you can. And we will give you, based on whatever you or your employer or sponsoring organization paid, we will give you 100% credit, dollar for dollar, towards the price of the cohort. And so you can email us at upgrade@getrefm.com for details on how you can do that. It's a very easy, quick process. Now, I know I promised we'd do this 50% off drawing, so I'm just going to look literally right here, and I have someone named Ganesh Ramanathan. I hope I pronounced your name properly. You are at the top of the list here. I don't know if that's because you joined last or joined first, or you didn't use a capital letter when you signed your first name. I have no idea, but congratulations. I will reach out to you afterwards. You've won the 50% off promotion, which is also valid through 15th. And I'm happy to take questions now at this point. There are certainly special cases, people who maybe don't fit into those 4 groups that we profiled earlier. I'm willing to talk to you online in a video chat to help you understand if REFAI is a good fit for you, right? REFAI Cohort or REFAI Self-Paced, if it's a good fit for you. I'm happy to help you understand that. And I would never force anyone into doing the wrong thing for them. That's obviously not good for anyone. And so you might come away from that consultation saying, you know what, this isn't the right thing. And I actually had that conversation with someone the other day. They said, well, I worked for 2 developers. I've been on my own for 3 years. And, I'm wondering if this is for me. And I said, it's not. You know too much. I said, you and I should be doing coaching instead, because I don't want you to be buying into something that's too elementary for you in a lot of ways. And so that coaching is also a offering that we are providing, a custom version of REFAI, where you pair REFAI with, let's say, 10 coaching hours with me personally. That's something that is also available. And if you're interested, you can email either of those email addresses about the custom form. But let me go ahead and get to some of these questions. We've got about 4 minutes left on the clock here. Let's see here. We've had a couple people write in about if we've already purchased the full REFAI course, can we join the cohort? Yes. That's as I just outlined. You just send an email to upgrade@getrefm.com. I'll provide you with the very easy way to transition into the cohort. We can port over all your course progress if you desire, if you want to start fresh. That's also another 2 or 3 individuals wrote in and said, what time and day of the week do you anticipate the live portion of the course will be? That's the office hours that I referenced. Right now, it's slated for 5 p.m. Eastern on Wednesdays, and I'm flexible and will look to the group to make sure that that's a good time. And it could change based on the demand of the group. But generally speaking, again, we want you to learn this stuff successfully, and we're here to support that journey. Let's see what else we've got here in terms of questions. We have one individual asking, is a refi something that's necessary for someone with a master's in science and real estate already? Or is it better to just do the REFM boot camps? That's a personal decision. I do know many who have a master's in real estate and have benefited from refi. I know certain schools are actually, we work with those schools such as NYU and Auburn to offer refi in concert with some of their finance or investment classes. So there is value there without a doubt. And I'm happy to discuss that further with you personally over a consultation if you'd like. Let's see if I can scroll up here as well. Are the classes recorded in case we can't make it? Okay, so the material, the format of the material it's all pre-recorded. It's chaptered, it's high production value, chaptered video with hyperlinks and so on. That's always available to you during the course, after the course, before the course, the second you enroll. And the office hours, I think someone else asked this earlier, so I apologize for skipping over that. If there's a desire for the office hours to be recorded, then absolutely. We'll record the office hours and create an archive so that those are an ongoing benefit and learning resource as well. Let's see if we've got any last questions here. This last question I'll take is, what advice would you give a recently graduated undergrad student looking to break into commercial real estate but hasn't had any luck? Don't give up. That's the best advice I can give. If you know you want to pursue this field, it can be a very rewarding career in many different ways. And find a way to get involved in the business somehow for that first job. And it doesn't really matter what your first job is. Whatever it is, you know nothing about it. So you're going to learn a tremendous amount about that facet of the business. And that becomes part of your knowledge and your understanding of how this overall massive multi-trillion-dollar business works. And from there, you can always look to do some form of lateral transition or something of that nature. But don't give up. Reach out to people. Let them know this is what I'm going for. The cohort certainly would give you a leg up in terms of gaining access to peers and those in the business who you could learn from during the course and beyond the course. So that's something that I think you should certainly be considering as well. Okay, well, it's 12:15. I promised I would respect your time, and I'm going to make good on that promise. I appreciate everybody attending today. Matt Shell, thank you so much for getting up perhaps a little earlier than you would have liked. We appreciate your perspectives. And heck, if you want to join the cohort, give me a call.
Awesome. Sounds good. If anyone has any questions too about the REFI program, I'm happy to answer those too.
Okay, wonderful. All right. Thank you to everyone, and I hope to see you in the cohort.